I debated whether to record this, not because the message is dark, not because what came through carries anything that is meant to harm you or frighten you or leave you in a worse place than where you started, but because the truth that arrived for you today has a specific quality of tenderness to it that made me want to be very careful about how I delivered it. Because sometimes the truth that is hardest to hear is not the devastating kind. Sometimes the truth that requires the most care in the delivery is the kind that touches something vulnerable, something that you have been protecting quietly without fully realizing how much energy that protection has been costing you. This is that kind of truth. And I am going to ask you to stay with me through all of it, not just the parts that feel comfortable, all of it. Because what is on the other side of this reading, once we have moved through the truth together, is something genuinely worth arriving at. Stay with me, Virgo. Let me begin by speaking to what I felt first, because the sequence of how this came through matters. There was a heaviness, not darkness, heaviness, the specific weight of something that has been carried for a while without being fully set down or fully examined. And then alongside the heaviness, something else, something warmer, almost hopeful, as though the heaviness and the warmth were two parts of the same message, inseparable from each other, neither one making complete sense without the other. And then the truth began to form. And I understood why I had been feeling both at once. Because what they are about to do, the thing that this reading is here to prepare you for, is not what most people would expect when they see a title like this one. It is not a betrayal. It is not a deception or a manipulation or something designed to harm you. What they are about to do requires more courage than most people realize. And the reason I am sorry you have to hear this truth first is not because the action itself is bad. It is because hearing it before it happens means sitting with the vulnerability of knowing that something significant is coming before you know exactly what form it will take. Let me speak to this person directly, because their energy is the most prominent thing in this reading, and they deserve to be understood fully. This person has been in a process, a real sustained, sometimes uncomfortable process of arriving at something that they have been approaching for a while without fully being able to commit to. Not because they are inconsistent or unreliable by nature, but because what they have been approaching requires something of them that they have not always had available in sufficient quantity. Courage, not the dramatic action movie kind of courage, the quieter, more vulnerable, more genuinely difficult kind, the courage of honesty, of saying something true when saying it creates real risk, of putting something real on the table and not knowing for certain how it will be received. This person has been building that courage slowly in the private space of their own processing through moments of almost saying it and then not, through the specific accumulation of wanting that eventually becomes larger than fear, through reaching a point where the cost of continuing to hold this in silence exceeds the cost of the vulnerability that honesty requires. They have reached that point. I want to describe what they are about to do, because the truth of this reading lives in the specificity of it. They are about to be honest with you fully, without the usual management or filtering or careful presentation that has characterized how they have communicated with you up until this point. They are about to say something or do something that reveals more of what they actually feel, what they have actually been experiencing in relation to you, than anything they have previously allowed you to see. For some of you, this honesty takes the form of an admission, something they have been feeling but not expressing, a level of caring, of attachment, of genuine investment in your presence in their life that exceeds what their behavior has been suggesting. The admission is going to land with a weight that surprises you, not because the underlying feeling was hidden from everyone, but because hearing it stated directly, without the layers of management, is a different experience from sensing it without confirmation. For others, this honesty takes the form of an apology, not the surface level kind that acknowledges a general wrongness without getting into the specific texture of what was wrong. The real kind. The kind that demonstrates understanding of impact rather than just action. Where you can hear in the words and the quality of the delivery that this person has genuinely sat with what they did and what it cost you and has arrived at a real reckoning with it. For still others, this honesty takes the form of a declaration of intention, of what this person wants and where they stand and what they are asking for. Said clearly, without the hedging and the qualification and the careful, not quite saying that has perhaps characterized how they have approached this kind of territory with you before. And for some of you, it is all of these things combined, the admission and the apology and the declaration arriving together, because they are all part of the same truth that has been sitting in this person and that is now finally ready to be spoken. I want to speak to why I am sorry you have to hear this truth before it happens, because I promised an explanation and I want to deliver it with full honesty. Knowing that something significant is coming before it comes puts you in a specific kind of position, a position that has its own discomfort, because it means that between now and when this person comes forward, you are going to be navigating your ordinary interactions with them, carrying this knowledge, this awareness that something is building, this anticipation of a moment that you know is approaching, but that you cannot force or rush or control the timing of. That anticipation is its own vulnerability. It opens you up in a way that your usual defenses would not have had to contend with if you had simply encountered this moment when it arrived without prior warning. It asks you to be open to something before you know its exact shape, to hold space for a moment that is coming without knowing precisely when it will come or exactly what it will look like when it does. That is not always comfortable, and I wanted to acknowledge that up front rather than simply delivering the news of what is coming without acknowledging the experience of receiving that news in advance. Does this feel like it is connecting to someone in your life, Virgo? Someone whose presence in your current awareness has a particular quality, a sense of something unresolved or unspoken between you, something that you have perhaps sensed but not had the full confirmation of? Let me know in the comments. I want to know how this is landing for you. I want to speak now to what this honesty, when it comes, is going to require of you. Because this reading is not only about what they are about to do, it is about what you do with what they bring. The first thing it is going to require is presence. The genuine, grounded, actually here quality of presence that does not process through the filter of what you are supposed to say or how you are supposed to respond. What this person is going to bring you deserves to be received by the version of you that is simply present and real, rather than the version that is managing how this looks or what it means or what the appropriate response is. This is asking something real of you, because presence of this kind means vulnerability. It means allowing what they bring to actually land without immediately protecting yourself from its landing. It means being willing to feel what you feel in real time in front of them, rather than taking it away to process privately and then returning with a considered response. The second thing it is going to require is honesty of your own, not necessarily in the immediate moment, not necessarily before you have had time to fully process what they have said, but at some point in the conversation that this opens, you are going to need to bring your own truth into the space as well. Not just receive theirs, because what they are risking by being honest with you deserves to be met with your own willingness to be honest in return. This does not mean you have to know exactly how you feel before you can respond. It means being willing to say what is actually true, even if what is actually true is that you need time, or that you have questions, or that you feel more than one thing simultaneously. All of these are honest responses. All of these are more valuable than a managed, carefully constructed response that prioritizes composure over truth. Inhale. I want to speak to something about trust, because I feel it is at the heart of this moment, even if it is not the most obvious surface element of it. What this person is about to do, being honest with you in a fuller way than they have been before, is an act of trust. They are trusting that you can receive what they bring without using it against them, without meeting their vulnerability with something that would punish them for having been vulnerable, without making the risk they are taking more costly than they can afford. And on your side, what you are going to be asked to do, receiving this honesty and responding with your own, is also an act of trust. Trust that being open, being real, being the fully present version of yourself in this moment is safe, that the person who is risking honesty with you is someone worthy of having your honesty in return. The question of whether that trust is warranted is one that only your own discernment can fully answer. But I will say this, the quality of what I am feeling from this person as they build toward this moment of honesty does not have the signatures of someone who is being dishonest about their honesty. It does not feel like a strategy. It does not feel like an attempt to produce a particular response from you. It feels like someone who has genuinely arrived at a point of not being able to continue holding something that has become too large to hold. That quality is worth something. Your discernment will recognize it when it arrives. Let me speak to the emotional texture of what this moment is going to feel like, because I think preparing for the feeling of it matters as much as understanding the content. When someone is honest with you in the specific way I am describing, in the full, unmanaged, this is what is actually true for me kind of way, it tends to produce a response that is more emotional than people expect. Not because the content is necessarily devastating, though it might be moving, but because genuine honesty, the real kind, the kind that costs someone something, has a quality that the body responds to before the mind has had a chance to process it. You might feel tears, not from sadness necessarily, from the specific quality of being met in honesty, of having the unspoken finally spoken, of a tension that has existed in the space between you and this person finally releasing in the specific way that only the truth can release it. Let whatever comes, come. You do not have to hold yourself together through this moment. Being moved by something genuine is not weakness. It is simply the honest response of a person who is being given something real. I want to speak to what comes after this honesty, because the truth they bring is a beginning, not an ending, and I want to make sure you understand what becomes possible on the other side of this moment. Whatever they say and however you receive it, this moment of mutual honesty, of the unspoken finally becoming spoken, changes the architecture of the space between you. Not by resolving everything, not by immediately making everything clear and settled and decided, but by creating a different kind of foundation than the one that existed before. A foundation that has honesty at its base rather than the careful management of what has been left unsaid. And from a foundation of honesty, whatever comes next is more real, more sturdy, more capable of becoming something lasting than anything that could have been built on the previous foundation of the unspoken. If this leads somewhere new between you, it leads there from solid ground. If it leads toward closure, it closes cleanly, with both people having actually said what needed to be said rather than carrying it indefinitely into whatever comes next. Either way, the honesty serves you. Either way, what exists after this moment is more true to reality than what existed before it. As I bring this reading toward its close, I want to address the specific quality of what was promised in the title directly. I am sorry you have to hear this truth. I am sorry not because the truth is bad. I am sorry because truth, even when it is ultimately good, even when it opens something important, even when it leads somewhere meaningful, can be uncomfortable in the receiving. Because being prepared for something does not eliminate the experience of going through it. Because knowing that someone is about to be fully honest with you before they are means carrying that knowledge through whatever time exists between now and the moment of honesty itself. But I want you to know something about that carrying. It is not simply a burden, it is also a gift, because you get to arrive at this moment with your eyes open, with your awareness prepared, with the capacity to receive what is coming as someone who is ready for it, rather than someone who is caught entirely off guard. You can prepare your own heart. You can spend the time between now and this moment doing whatever internal work helps you arrive at it in the most grounded, most open, most genuinely yourself version of your own readiness. And when the moment comes, when this person finally speaks the truth they have been carrying, you will be ready. Not in the sense of having no emotional response, but in the sense of being present enough, grounded enough, genuinely open enough to receive it with the full depth of who you actually are. That is all any of us can be for the moments that matter. And this one matters. If this reading touched something tender in you today, please share it with a Virgo who needs to feel this energy, and leave me a comment below. Tell me how this landed. Tell me what came up for you as you listened. Tell me who came to mind when I described the person who is building toward this honesty. I read every single word you share. Every story matters to me, and I carry your energy with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, the truth is coming, and you are ready for it. More ready than,